into today's session on leadership skills for career advancement. What skills do you really need to possess before you move upward in your career? The leadership skills you really need to possess before moving upward in your career. So this session will be handled by two very important people in our midst, our two very important mentors, Miss Rose and Dr. Peter Adewi. All right, so let's anticipate this session because it promises to be even much more exciting and amazing than last week's session, much more educative. So let's bring our energy, the energy from last week's session where we are all like, oh no, we cannot allow Mr. Tega go. Let's bring that same energy back for this session because it's going to be very, very amazing. All right. So let's go to our first speaker for today. Our first speaker for today is Rose Agra.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Mercy, it's good to have you here.
Good evening, Ma. So I would need to. It's good to have you in our midst too, Ma. It is very, very good to have you in our midst. So I will be.
Same here.
Miss Rose is a very, very important person. She has lots of experiences in personal development. She's a content writer, a content creator. She's not just an ordinary person. So when we see people like this, we should be very, very appreciative of them because people that have gone far in their journey of personal growth. She's a Christian, a human physiology in Benue State. She's a fashion designer, a consultant. She loves singing, writing, creating, and exploring new things. She's also very passionate about impacting lives. It's one of her key priorities. One of her key words or her mantras is that she believes that life in general is a journey. So every day of the human life counts. So that's like one of her mantras that guides her day-to-day life. So let's welcome Miss Rose to our midst.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ma.
Thank you, Mercy. Hello, everyone. Good evening. Do I have the floor now?
You do, Ma. Yes, of course.
All right, then. So I would like us to say an opening prayer before we start. Can anyone volunteer to help us do that? All right, then. Hello.
We can hear you, Ma. Who can volunteer to do an opening prayer for us? Anybody?
Hello,
Please,
Ma.
let's pray.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Our Lord and Father, we thank you for our lives. We thank you for the gift of man. We thank you for the gift of our salvation. We thank you for
Lord.
the gift of intellect. As we are
Thank you,
gathered
Lord.
this evening, we pray that even as we are here, God will help us. That as we learn
Amen.
Jesus in our lives in Jesus' name, that even as we learn,
Amen.
we'll be pleased afterwards. Father, we pray for our
Amen.
facilitators. Lord, you inspire them. Lord, you speak
Amen.
what we need, but not what we want to hear. We ask this a minimum from Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. So I would like to introduce myself. Just as Mercy has said, my name is Agra Rose Paul, and I own a fashion house called She Rose, and that's where I help women elevate their confidence level through the clothes that they wear. And I'm also into content creation because it comes in handy in the line of fashion and designing in our world today. So to take us further into the topic, I would like two students to introduce themselves because I would like to hear from you as well. I would have loved to take every other person's introduction, but I would like to hear from two students. Introduce yourself and tell me about you.
Hello, good evening, ma.
Good evening there.
Yes, ma. I'm
Yeah.
Dami
What?
Ogunme by name.
All right then. Dami, go ahead.
Yeah. So I'm a graduate of Obafemi Awolowo University. I just graduated from nursing
Okay.
department.
Okay.
So I'm also a content writer, but I'm just starting actually.
Okay.
So I love growth, I love excellence, and I love to develop myself.
Okay. That's very nice. Good
Thank
to
you.
have you here. So who is the next person? Hello. We are waiting on the next person so that we can proceed.
Hello, ma.
Hello. Good evening.
Good evening. So my name is Awune Teresa. I'm an African. I
Sorry, I didn't
usually
get your
punctuate.
name.
Awune Teresa.
Hello. You said?
My name is Awune Teresa Tule from Ghana.
Okay.
I
Nice to meet you.
am a graduate of Sharpen, currently studying for a bachelor in geomatic engineering. I currently work as
Okay.
a surveyor,
Okay.
activist, at the private clinic in Ghana. Also, youth leader, student leader. I value punctuality and it's nice to meet you, ma.
Same here there. Thank you so much. It's nice to meet you, Teresa. So guys, I wouldn't want us to take so much time. I would want us to dive into today's topic. So I would also want you guys to feel comfortable. Just take me as someone that has some information that is willing to share to you. So feel free to take notes of your questions to ask at the end of this session, and just do well to make the class interactive. Yeah, so we are all here to learn. So let's get into today's topic, which our host has already briefed us on: personal leadership. The topic today is personal leadership. So it's in two parts, but I would like to start with the first part, which is personal leadership, and the second part is leadership mindset for career development. Now, I want to give you like an illustration that ushers you into today's topic, which is imagine yourself to be on a path of self mastery. That's, you want to gain more knowledge in a specific area of your life. So that's how you should like approach this kind of topic. So I'll start by asking this question, which takes us to the next slide. What is personal leadership? But before then, I would like to let you guys know that this is the outline of today's topic. So I'll be taking you guys on the various aspects of personal leadership and the various aspects involved in leadership mindset for career development. So let's move to the next slide. What is personal leadership? So I know that before this class, some of you have had one or two experiences, or you might have heard it somewhere. Leadership, a lot of people have been saying leadership, but now personal leadership, what do you think? What do you think it is? So I'd like to get two answers and then we move forward. Hello? This will help us see it from your own perspective. Okay, the question is, what is personal leadership? Just tell me from your experience and what you know about personal leadership before this class. We want to hear from you and want to know your own perspective about this.
Okay. Good evening, ma.
Good
All right, ma.
evening.
Hello,
Okay.
ma.
Please,
Yes, ma. Good
please
evening.
introduce yourself while you're answering the question.
Okay, my name is Dami.
Okay,
So,
Dami.
personal leadership, yes, ma. So, personal
Okay,
leadership is the ability to exercise control over oneself. That is being able to lead oneself to take certain action,
okay,
and personal leadership of it precedes leading other people, because inability to lead oneself is tantamount to inability to lead other people. So to be able
very
to lead
true.
others, you want to be able to lead oneself too. Thank you, ma.
Wow, amazing. Thank you so much. We are waiting on our the next person. All right, Daudu Mubarak, go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. I'm
Good
Dauda,
evening.
a student of University of Ilorin. Okay,
Okay,
personal leadership basically is about taking control of your life and being there for, like, being ready to take responsibility for every decision you are making with your life. Like, you are making sure that everything you are doing it for yourself, and you are going to take responsibility for it.
okay. Thank you so much, Daudu. So, guys, let's move into your response were amazing, and it is very, very connected to this definition that we have here and the key points. So, it is written here that personal leadership is the practice of intentionally leading oneself towards personal and professional goals. It is about taking full responsibility for your actions, decisions, and outcomes in life. And the key point here says leadership starts from within. Before you can lead others effectively, you must first lead yourself. So I would like to take us back to what Daudu said. Daudu mentioned responsibility, which is part of the definition that we have here. Taking full responsibility for your actions. Now you have intentionally decided that, okay, I've come to this point in time in my life that I want to do this particular goal, like let's just say personal development, since we are talking about it. Now I want to become more I want to lead myself into a journey of growth. So now you have said it intentionally to yourself. Now you are not going ahead to practice this step because it involves practicing. There is no skills that doesn't involve practicing. Practicing is even one of like the major part of getting into any skills that you need to develop yourself on. So the other point where Dami mentioned, if you haven't led yourself yet, you can't lead others, which is very, very important. You have to have that idea, the knowledge of what it means to lead someone, which is through yourself, before you start leading other people. Now, from all these practices, you must have gotten one or two experiences that will now take you further into personal leadership. So are you guys following me? Can I get a response? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, okay, thank you so much. So let's move to the next point. And the next point is just going to give us like basically an example of what a personal leader looks like? Thank you so much. I can see your response. Thank you so much. So you might be wondering, like, what is this personal who can give us like a real model of what personal leadership looks like? And we can't go far. We have to like search from within. And this is no other person than Elon Musk. We all know Elon Musk and how he has successfully built an empire. He's a business person and he's also an investor. He's the CEO of the lead designer of he's the CEO and the lead designer of SpaceX, which is X, Twitter that we all know about, Tesla, Neuralink, and so many others. And we know him to be the wealthiest individual in the world today. So one of the things that I want to point out here is the fact that there are some traits that we're seeing in Elon Musk. That was why I used him as an example in this situation, which is having a strong vision. As a leader, someone that knows that, okay, tomorrow I want to walk into the line of leadership. These are some traits that you should possess. And I just want to talk briefly on that, which is number one, strong vision. Number two, resilience. Number three, accountability. He had a vision about all of these things. It's not just something that just came out of the blues. You know, when you are planning that, you keep on making plans. Are you guys following me? You keep on making plans towards this vision, and you see that as you are making plans and there are several systems you have put in place to make sure that this vision comes to life, you would see that you get to that particular place and even more. So it is one of the traits that someone that wants to practice personal leadership should possess. Then number two is resilience. I think that if he stopped at just producing Tesla, maybe we wouldn't have had an idea of what SpaceX would look like. So those breaks, okay, maybe when you want to, let me just come down to your understanding. Maybe when you're doing something and then you're just feeling like giving up, but then you know that, oh, there is a vision, there is something, I want to become this, I want to become that. Like before I started giving you an explanation of who he is, sorry, I made mention of the fact that he's a businessman and an investor. So this gives you an idea that there is a vision in place. So even if he wants to give up, he knows that, oh, tomorrow I want to become an investor. Tomorrow I want to become a businessman. So I should not give up. I should keep on going. So that's why we have so many of these other things that he has created. And lastly, accountability. This one is even something that is very important, and it cannot be, you can't even like keep it aside. Accountability is very, very important. Like making sure that you're accountable for your actions, your decisions, and every other thing that you're going to do in this phase. So I hope you guys are understanding what I'm saying. I would like us to move to the next point, which is the key elements of personal leadership. Now, these are like, I will call them pillars or the factors in which you can achieve personal leadership, which was something that we already spoke about in the example that I just gave. Vision. Having a vision is very, very important. It's just like having a clear sense of purpose, direction to where you are headed in life. And number two, discipline. Discipline is very, very important because I feel like this helps you stay focused, that okay, there is a vision in place and there is something at stake if I don't do this. So I have to be focused and do what needs to be done, execute the tasks that need. So you know what you're supposed to do. And if you're not doing it, you know why it's not succeeding the way it's supposed to be. Number three, which is resilience, which was what I spoke about in the example I gave. The comeback, I call it the comeback spirit. Whenever you feel like giving up, or you have even given up totally, you always come back to it and say, okay, I will do this, I will do more. It doesn't stop here. I will continue to do more. Now, number four, which is very, very, very important. This is just like the basis of personal leadership. Self-motivation goes a long way. It is just like that internal drive to act without needing anybody's motivation, that okay, oh, I'm feeling down today. Maybe okay, you have a business and then you always show up on your status. I would use myself as an example. Some days you don't feel like it, you don't feel like coming to WhatsApp to post anything, but just motivate yourself that, oh, I'm doing this for me. There's a vision in place. And for me to get there, I have to be consistent. I have to show up regardless of how I feel. So there are these little self-motivation you give to yourself, that, okay, I need to do this. And when all of these elements are in place, I tell you, self-motivation is just like the ice to eat. Self-motivation is just like the ice. So I want to remind you guys to take notes, because at the end of this session, you'll be given the floor to ask your question. So do well to take notes of your questions, and also inform me if you're following, and then we proceed to the next point. So the next point here talks about, I didn't get any response. Are you guys following? So
We are
the
following,
next,
ma.
all right. Thank you so much. All right. So the next point is a personal leadership mindset. Thank you so much, Daniel, for responding. A personal leadership mindset. So, okay, Grace, thank you so much. Okay, let's continue. Having a personal leadership mindset. Now, it's in 3 points, which is something I would like to there's something I would like to let us know, which is mindset. Like, when you think about mindset, what comes to mind? Mindset is just like a mental attitude, something that your brain tells you to do because it is necessary for you to do it. Let's just put it in that term, because for you to possess a personal leadership skill, you have to have that mindset that, okay, I am a leader, and I'm aware that this is the things that I'm supposed to do. You don't need anybody else to tell you, but you know that these are the things that you are supposed to. These are the essential things that you're supposed to do. And number one is growth mindset. Number two, self-awareness. Number three, accountability. And for growth mindset, personal leaders always seek growth, understanding that failure is a learning opportunity rather than a setback. I would love to give so many examples, but I'll just leave you guys with this one, that in your journey of mastery, which was something I spoke about as before we entered into the topic, that personal leadership is a path to self-mastery. In your journey of self-mastery, just have it at the back of your mind that setback will always come. So when you're prepared for it, you know that you have that understanding that whenever failure arises, it's just like an opportunity for you to pick one or two things. It's an opportunity for you to learn and not to remain there. So your learning process, your learning become a process. It is not just rigid, it is now flexible. So as you keep going, when you fail, you try again. When you fail, you try again. So the next point, self-awareness. Personal leadership requires an honest understanding of your strengths, weaknesses, values, and emotions. Being self-aware helps you align your actions with your goal. This is very, very important. You have to be aware of yourself before you even start any journey, like any journey of growth. You have to be aware of yourself, because these are the things that you will always come back to. Because if you don't prepare for it, when it arises, it's those little things that can easily pull you down. So when you are self-aware of your strengths, your weaknesses, your values, and your emotions, when you have seen some challenges in the journey or the path, in this part of this mastery, self-mastery, you'll be like, okay, so where have I failed in? What were my weaknesses? What were the things that made this challenge to arise? Was it because of my values that was not put in place? Was it because of my emotions that was not put in place? Why I'm even coming to this area of emotions is because a lot of business owners run their business based on emotions, and we have all seen how disastrous that can be. So working with the honest understanding about these four things is very, very important. Okay, Mercy, go ahead.
Hello, Ma. Did you
Yeah.
have less than 10 minutes to go?
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll try to round up. So accountability. Leaders take full responsibility for their actions. They don't blame external circumstances, but instead they focus on what they can control. Those things that you know that you can control, which maybe it's just like the basic responsibilities that you have given yourself, that okay, these are the things that I'm going to use to fulfill this particular thing I'm heading on to. You make sure that okay, you are able to do those things without blaming any other person. So let's move to the next point. The next point says the four essential qualities of personal leadership. I'll just take you guys through, list it, and maybe just give you guys like a brief explanation about it. Number one is integrity, courage, empathy, adaptability, and that's all. So guys, these are very, very essential qualities that someone that is looking out to gaining personal leadership should possess. There's no way you can take it out of the equation, because it is very, very important that you have these essential qualities. You have to be courageous, you have to feel the people's pain, which is empathy. You have to be able to adapt to the situations of things. Integrity is very, very important. People should be able to rely on you. So let's move to the next point. How do you develop personal leadership skill? Because you can't go through this class without getting the knowledge of developing personal skills. So we have run through the elements, what personal leadership looks like. Now, how do you develop this personal leadership skill? set clear goals. Number one, set clear goals. Number two, practice self-reflection. Number three, embrace lifelong learning. Number four, build discipline. Number five, surround yourself with support. These are very, very important things for you to note, because you are becoming somebody better. You are developing yourself for higher ground. So you don't have to remain with the same schedule, the way you do your things before. You don't have to keep neglecting the little threads that could fall you back on so many things. So you have to keep in mind that you have something at stake. There's a vision in place. So these these skills that you need to develop are very, very essential for you to move forward to that vision. Let's move to the next point. Okay, so for everyone that has been here so far, at least you have an idea of what personal leadership looks like. And to summarize the whole class, I would like to let you know that personal leadership is an essential skill for success in every area of your life. By developing a clear vision, practicing discipline, taking accountability for your action, you can lead yourself to success and also inspire others along the way. There is no way that people won't see. There is no way that people would see you and now say that, oh, this person does not have an idea. Now you have a clear vision. You are now practicing those steps, those essential qualities. You have them. You possess every one of them, and now you now know that, okay, if I don't do this, this my actions have so repercussions. So these are the things that I would want you to take home from the first part of this session. And then something I would also want you guys to do is start implementing personal leadership principles today by setting clear goals, reflecting on your actions, and staying committed to your journey, to your growth journey. So thank you very much to everyone that has been listening. Let's go straight into the next topic, which is leadership mindset for career development. By now you already know what leadership mindset looks, what it should be, and what it's about. All right. What it's about. The first point, you already have an idea of what leadership mindset is. So I will take you guys through what are the various attributes of a leadership mindset. Just by listing it, I'll say that number one, they are growth mindset, accountability, influence, and impact on lives, long-term vision, which is something that we have already talked about. Let's move to the next point. Here are the 5 essential skills to develop as a leader. These skills, you cannot joke about it. It's very, very essential, and it's very important in developing yourself as a leader. You have to be able to communicate not just as a person, but communicate to people, that they are able to articulate what you are trying to say. So it's not just about talking. Let the people listen and let them get what you are trying to say. So number 2, problem solving skill. Whenever there is a problem, you have an idea, you bring to the table, and then they are able to solve those problems. Decision making. When there is a challenge, or there is something on ground that needs to be tackled, you are able to make that order, that okay, do this, these are the things, give order to people that okay, do this, these are the things that you need to do to make sure that these things fall in place. Number 4, emotional intelligence skills. Now you have to understand and manage your emotions while being aware of other people's emotions as well, which takes us back to the other point which you mentioned in the last part of this class, which is empathy. You have to feel other people's pain just as you are also feeling your pain. Number 5 is strategic thinking, a strategic thinking skill, which is the ability to plan, execute long-term strategy to achieve a career goal. So these are the essential skills that you need to develop as a leader. You have an idea of it, so it's going to really help you in the journey ahead. Let's move to the next point. The relevance of a leadership mindset in career development. We all know that leadership mindset is very, very important in career development. So what this is going to help you do is that it's going to give you the reminder that you have to keep on growing, and it's going to make you influence your workspace, also make you to be adaptable to several situations, because now you're open to the world whereby it's not just about you. You are not a leader, so you're thinking about several other people than yourself, so you can easily adapt to any change that comes, and it's just basically adaptability. Number 4, career advancement. Leaders are often the first to be considered for promotions or leadership roles, as they demonstrate further forward thinking and responsibility. So in everything that you're doing, when you take this leadership mindset to the outside world, you see that you are most preferred because you have a skill that everybody is looking out for. So with this, let's move to the next point. Okay, conclusion. I'd like you guys to take note of this. Like, this is something to take home to think about, which is developing a leadership mindset is very crucial for long-term career success. For you to be able to succeed in every area of your career, you need a leadership mindset. By focusing on growth, accountability, and influence, individuals can position themselves as leaders and stand out in their careers. So when you position yourself as a leader, you will always stand out. Just have that at the back of your mind. When you possess all of these essential qualities, you will always stand out. Everybody will be looking out for you. And another call to action that I would like you guys to take home with is start building your leadership mindset today by setting clear goals, taking initiative, and continuous learning. The path to career success begins with leading yourself first. So I'm sorry, guys, I took so much time. But I'm glad that I was able to come to the end of today's topic. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you very, very much, Ma. We thank you very much for this session. So
Thank
we
you
just
so
had our
much.
first session on leadership mindset for career advancement from Miss Rose Paul. So we're moving to, I know we actually enjoyed this session. I know for a fact that we enjoyed this session. Most of us were writing furiously during this session. So we're moving to our next activity, which is the class activity for the day. And this would be that you would take down your pen and paper. You take your pen and papers, and then you would jot down 2 leaders, the names of 2 leaders you admire, or leaders you admire in general, right? And after jotting down these names, you would tell us, you explain to us on this group chat or on this call why you admire these leaders. Is it because of their style, their intelligence, their charisma? What is the reason why you admire them? Also write them down though, and then you also share it with us here. We have just few minutes to do that. Write down the name of a leader, tell us why you admire them. You can do that at your spare time, but for now, if you have any leader in mind that you admire so much, can just tell us why you admire these people. It might not be like a leader per se. It might just be someone that has these leadership qualities that you really, really admire. You can just tell us the person and why you admire them. Is it their style, their charisma, their way of leadership? And probably you, they're like your mentors, people you look up to. Why do you look up to them? Do you like their way of leadership? Just unmute and tell us the person you admire and why you admire them. Because me, I have my own. Please, let's participate in this class activity because it's like it's a very, very important activity. Let's know your kind of person from the kind of people you admire. All right.
Can I go ahead?
Sure, Teresa, go ahead. Thank you very much.
Okay, so the first leader I admire is a journalist in Ghana. His name is Mr. Bernard Avle. He's currently the manager for CV. The reason why I admire him is that he pursued his journalism in such a way that you see this is something he actually wants to do. It's not just about the paycheck, and then he's not just coming to say things to please people, but then everything he does in that particular field, or even anything out of that field, he's able to dedicate his whole time. He's able to show how passionate he is about achieving the outcome of that particular activity or session. And then the second person is Mr. Michael Ohini Oyarifa, something like that. Why I admire him is he has this burning hope that Africa would be better someday. So everything he does, he's currently the co-founder for Lead Africa International in Ghana. And then anything he does, because of that mindset that Africa will be great someday, he's able to channel that particular hope into young people that he's able to interact with. So that's why I like him. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Teresa. That was really, really amazing. All right, that was very, very amazing. We can also drop our responses on the chat room. Let's see who you admire. Who are the two leaders you admire, or any leader at all that you admire? Let's know. You can unmute your mic and speak. You can drop your response on the chat room. We are waiting for your responses. Dami, are you here? Daniel, let's hear, who do you admire? We don't admire anybody. You admire yourself. There are people that will be like, it's themselves, they love themselves, they admire themselves, they love what they do. But then I believe that we all should have mentors. We all should have people that we really, really like their lifestyle. We all should have people that we look up to once in a while. So probably because of their life, the way they live, the way they talk, the way they are passionate about what they want and stuff like that. So we should all have that one person in our lives, even if it's not two. It might even be our parents. So right, those leaders you admire. Let's hear from you. Why do you admire them? Why do you look up to them so much? What do they possess? What skill do they have? What have they shown? Right? Let's hear from you. You can unmute your mic. You can send a message to the chat room.
Okay. Good morning from my end.
Okay.
Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Thank you so much. I'm sorry that I came out a bit late because of the time zone. My name is Borges Weedy, and thanks to the presenter for that presentation. So I just spoke in the chat box about the leaders that I admire so much. And there are two, so we have so many of them that I totally wise to actually talk about those two. That is one of our professor at the University of Ghana, Professor Ernest Keno. One thing I actually admire about him is his motivational skills he has to actually talk to people. There are times because of a portfolio, you will have a problem and you feel that, oh, going to him, no, it will be somehow you will have that negative feeling about explaining your problem to him. But whenever any of his students or anyone that work with him go to him, the first thing when he sees you, you will say, "Oh yeah, boss." No, and you will have that kind of mindset that yes, indeed, he will actually listen to me, and his way of talking to his students, even if you can be the F students in the session, and he talks to you, you feel that yes, indeed, you are part of society and you can make a change, right? So that's one skills I really love about him. And the next person is my own mentor. I've worked with him for quite a number of years, and there are sometimes you will do some things and you feel that oh yes, in this one is very very bad and thing, but whenever he see it, he will just laugh and tell you that oh yes, you can do better, right? And we all learn for our great mentor that is online, Dr. Peter. Anything you do, he will encourage that it is well. Whether it is good or it's bad, he will say it is well, you can do better and things. So these are some of my role models that I actually try to follow as I'm pursuing my leadership in future because they are people that we can actually learn from what they do and how they react to things. Like you talk about empathy, and then these are some people that I actually work with that have those characteristics. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay, so we're moving to our next speaker for today, Dr. Peter Adebayo Adewiyi. He's a distinguished medical doctor, field epidemiology, a public health physician, CEO of Synax Pharmaceutical, and which is an online medical company. He has a career that has been spanning for over 2 decades. There's so much to say about this man. He's just not an ordinary person. Okay, so Dr. Adewiyi has demonstrated exceptional expertise in managing public health offices in several countries, like Nigeria, Gambia, Liberia, and Namibia, and also runs a successful family. His leadership skills were evident when he was the General Secretary of all medical doctors in Ogun State before leaving the shores of Nigeria to provide leadership in several public health roles after his contribution as a team lead during the Ebola outbreak in Nigeria, which earned him recognition, including the prestigious Time Magazine Man of the Year accolade in 2014. In public health space, he's a teacher, a mentor of mentors. He has mentored over close to 1,000 public health specialists from 4 different countries over the past 15 years. As a prolific scientist, writer, and reviewer, Dr. Adewiyi has authored over 32 peer-reviewed articles, boasting of a significant index of 10 with citations surpassing 400. His research interests are well documented on platforms like ResearchGate, Publons, where he maintains a strong presence. In entrepreneurship, he has started several businesses, some of which are succeeding, while one has closed and has several investments in listed companies, unlisted companies, and previously in high yield investment. He relates in global investors to sharpen his investment skills. He's a husband of one wife and has 3 successful children, all of whom have been trained as leaders and are currently leading in small needs where they are. He is also an advisor and a mentor. Above all, he has accepted Jesus Christ as his Lord and Master since age 10 and is currently the apostolic oversight of an African region of World Alive Ministry International. So we have a great man in our midst. Let's welcome Dr. Adebayo Peter Adewiyi as he takes over the next session on personal development. You're welcome, sir. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone. Mercy, I hope you can hear me.
Yes, sir. We can hear you. You're welcome.
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, sir.
I think you have said a lot about me. I've been enjoying personal leadership skill that we have been trying to develop. I'll try and run through my slides so that we can create time for questions. If you have, I might have some questions, you can just put it in the chat room so that I'll be able to see the answers as we go on. I want to thank the leadership for inviting me to speak to us. I pray I'll be able to give you some information that will help all of us in our journey. This is a life journey. You never stop developing. I remember some years back, my dad died, I think about 3 years ago or so. But some years before he died, he just called me one day and said, "Have you gotten your PhD?" I said, "PhD, daddy, PhD care." He said, "Yes." So the next time he called me again, he said, "When are you starting your PhD?" So I went to start PhD. And I just got back the PhD some weeks back, even though he had died. I'm sharing that story because we all need mentors. We all need people we can look up to, who can advise us, who can push us forward, who can look at you and say, "Oh, you can do more." And that's going to be the cross of what we'll be talking about today. Can we go to the next slide? So I'm going to be talking to us about around these three things: understanding leadership, various leadership styles, and then strategies to develop our own leadership skill. That's the topic itself, but I'll start with us understanding leadership. Can we go to the next slide? So okay, you have gone to the other slide. Don't worry, go to the next slide, don't worry. So we can define leadership as the ability to inspire, influence, and guide others towards a common goal. Ability to inspire, influence, and guide others towards a common goal. The roles of leaders are many, but one of the things leaders do is to drive social and economic development, advocate for positive change and innovation, and also to build a resilient community. Usually leaders are visionary. They have the ability to communicate effectively. Leaders have integrity and ethical conduct. And they have what we call emotional intelligence. We'll look at that a little bit more. Next slide, please. So these are various types of leaders that we do have. I do believe we've all had different experiences when it comes to these types of leadership. We have here, can you hear me, please?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Dr.
Okay. We have autocratic leaders, democratic leaders, laissez-faire leaders, transformational leaders, servant leaders, and situational leaders. I want to ask us one question before I go I'm going to go briefly into the pros and cons. We are going to spend some time on this slide. I'm going to go into the pros and cons of each one. I want to ask, without defining it, you can type it in the chat room. Which of these leadership styles have you experienced before? Whether it's autocratic, you can just type it's autocratic, democratic. Out of all these 6 leadership styles, which one have you experienced before? Let's just quickly type it in the chat room. I'm waiting for us to type. in the chat room. Okay, somebody said they have experienced Dami said she has experienced democratic servant transformational. Marcos said autocratic. Dorcas, autocratic and laissez-faire. Any other person? The kind of leadership that you have experienced before out of all of this: autocratic, democratic, servant, great set servant leadership. Okay. Okay. Thank you very much for your responses. Now, if you look at these 6 leadership styles, all of them have pros and cons to them. And I'm going to take it from the first one, which is the autocratic leadership. Autocratic leadership basically is a leader that takes decision by himself with little input from others. It just tells you, I'm sure if I ask us to think of world leaders that you think have been autocratic, maybe you think of maybe Putin, that's the president, or is it president or prime minister of Russia? Some of our military, past military leaders in Nigeria. So an autocratic leader takes decision by himself with little or no input from others. And even when others suggest things that make sense, he might intentionally not take it, no matter how good the suggestion is. So he's an autocrat. But that kind of style have advantages, and one of the advantages is that they take decisions on time. If an autocratic leader is going in the right direction, you will move in that right direction quickly. There is something about being an autocratic leader. They move fast and take decisions quickly. Now, whether those decisions are right or wrong is a different thing. But the cons is that it suppresses creativity and it lowers the morale of the team. No, people will say, oh, if you tell him your idea, he will not listen. So that's an autocratic leader. Meanwhile, a democratic leader allows team participation when they are making decisions, when they are taking actions, when they want to do things, they involve the whole team. So he encourages engagement, he encourages creativity and all of that. It helps people to want to participate in leadership. They know that the leader will listen and will take the idea. I might even give them credit, other team members credit for the idea. But the problem with that is democracy is always slow. It takes time sometimes for a democratic leader to move in the correct direction because everybody have an idea and the person wants to listen to every idea. Now, the laissez-faire leadership, he adds hands-off approach. He allows his team members to do things without his accepting or without his allowing or giving direction. So individuals can become leaders within a laissez-faire leadership system. Although it promotes innovation, but it can also lead to a coup quickly, in the sense that that leader is like he's there, but it's not there. Okay? Then it can also lead to everybody going in different directions, so there won't be clear-cut direction for the team. The next one is the transformational leadership. Okay, the transformational leadership inspires and motivates changes. It designs the vision. It has the passion for it to move on, and then it pushes that passion, it pushes that vision, it gets everybody engaged to go in that direction of the transformation agenda that is pushing. But what that requires is that especially when you want to create a vision, it requires that you have to carry people along. It requires that you have to convince people. It requires that you have to make sure that the team is moving with you. You are going in a certain direction. Remember the definition of a leader is the ability to influence. Can we go to the previous slide? Ability to influence, inspire, and guide. Okay? Towards achieving a common goal. Ability to influence, inspire. So a leader is not necessarily the person doing all the job. Is an inspirer, is an influencer, and is a guide to make sure that we are going in a certain direction. That requires a lot of energy when it comes to transformational leadership. Let's go to the back to the next slide. So a transformational leader will require a lot of energy to do his work, because we need to convince people, we need to work with people, we need to encourage people, we need to create a clear vision for the people. And but the con to that is that it requires a lot of energy. It requires a lot of commitment from the leader. The next one is the servant leadership, which focuses on serving the need of the community. It's for me, it has to be done in combination with some other leadership style. What servant leadership does is that it builds strong relationships, it promotes development of the whole community, because the man is leading or the woman is leading by example. Servant leadership lead by example. The problem with that is that sometimes they may overlook organizational objectives, so that you are not able to achieve the objective of the organization sometimes, because now the community is dictating and you are working with the community to dictate the direction in which you are supposed to be going. Now, the last one is the situational leadership. This is based on situation. This is a leadership that takes lead by into the situation on ground and providing solution to that problem. There is a problem, he or she adapts to it, and then produce solution to that problem. It's a flexible type of leadership. There's no clear-cut vision, there's no clear-cut direction that they're going, but it adapts to how to solve the problems that are on ground. And it's a very responsive way of leading. And then the problem is that in case that person or that leader is not able to adapt, then it runs into problems. Okay, it runs into a lot of problems. So those are the 6 common leadership style. Now they're a combination of that. We have people who are transformational and servanthood. We have people who are situational and transformational. We have people who are combined laissez-faire with servanthood. You have to, as a person, decide the kind of leadership skill you want to build, the kind of combination you might need to use, depending on where you are, the level where you are, or the position you have found yourself. Let's go to the next slide. I'm going to give us examples of some African leaders. I'm sure you can read it on the slide. We have Nelson Mandela. We have Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. And then we have Matai from Kenya. And then Paul Kagame of Rwanda. Let's go to the next slide. Now, if you remember Mandela very well, is both a transformational and a servant leader. Transformational in the sense that by the time he was coming in as president, or he was fighting for end to apartheid in South Africa, his vision was to unify the country. Imagine you're in an environment where some people are subjugating you, they are suppressing you, they are trying to destroy you, and then you that they are trying to destroy, you now have an opportunity to lead that community. It calls for you being able to do retaliation. But before he became a leader, while he went to the prison for 27 years, they maltreated him, and still was able to bring about idea of unity. That's transformational. Because even his own people, the black South Africans didn't want to follow him. They were angry with him that he did not start putting in prison all the people that were oppressing them. He had to fight for unity. That was his vision. And was able to transform South Africa up to that level before he left as president. Also, he was a servant leader in the sense that his style of leadership was by example. He went to places where people thought that he should not go as a new leader in South Africa. He worked with those who are marginalized, those who are oppressed. He was very humble. He was very forgiving. And people are willing to follow him eventually. So that is somebody who expressed servant leadership and transformational leadership. Let's go to the next slide. If you look at Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, she's still alive. She is the first female elected president in Africa. She was the president of Liberia. And she became president after the country was in war. It was a civil war for 14 years, non-stop of war. She came in democracy. She was democratic in the way she handled things. When you're talking about democracy, you're talking about transparency, you're talking about rule of law, you're talking about building institutions. One major thing she was able to do was to make sure that all the rebels dropped their instruments of war, their guns and all of that. I mean, I've worked in Liberia for 8 years. I've spent 9 years there, about 6 to 8 years in Liberia. And you can't convince people to carry gun to fight anymore. He laid that foundation by opening up the system and making sure that democratically people can decide their own way forward. They allow the whole society to participate. And that is an example of democratic leadership. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Matai from Kenya was, environmental activist. She is a transformational leader. She's the first woman to win Nobel Prize. And then what she did was to inspire people about stopping environmental degradation, poverty, and all of that. And she was able to get people to do what is right. That's what a transformational leader does. A transformational leader work with the people and provide a vision for the people to achieve. Create a vision and get the people to work. So you see a change. You see a transformation. You see a different mentality. For example, if people are littering the environment, able to convince and galvanize the people, okay, let us clean every week. Then let us clean every week. Then people's behavior changes from let us clean every week to let us clean every day. And then the whole community is clean. That is transformational leader. It's not that people didn't see that the environment was dirty, but there was no willingness to clean the environment. So a transformational leader creates a vision and gets the people to follow the vision. So she was an example of that. Lastly, let's go to the next slide about examples of leaders. I'm supposed to have Kigami. Sorry, I didn't put Kigami. Okay, let me talk Kigami. Let's go back to the slide, to the previous slide. Previous slide. Yes, this slide. Kagame is a transformative leader. He's also a transformational leader. He transformed Rwanda. Also post-war, one of his key things is that he created a unified environment and created a new vision for the people. He has a vision. He's still there as president, even though I'm not happy that it looks like he's going to be there as a president forever. But he has a leadership style that is transformational. And that leadership style is such that he's able to create a vision of unity, success, and the future for Rwanda. Do you know that in Rwanda right now, private schools are closing down because they have transformed the public schools? The public schools are free and they are more productive than the private schools. That's what a transformational leader can do. A transformational leader, another thing he did was to create a justice system. Okay, he created a justice system whereby you are not justifying, I don't know how to put this, justifying the genocide. So many people died, and he was able to promote forgiveness. Those whose families have been killed, he brought them. So he didn't use the normal justice system. That's why his style is transformational. He called the leaders of the community of the people that were killed and the community of the people that killed them. And everybody came together on the same table, begged each other, asked for forgiveness. Nobody has seen that kind of justice system before. Instead of saying, oh, let's take them to court. Liberia is going that way right now. Let's take them to court. All the people that killed the people, they must be brought to justice. The justice that Kagame did was forgiveness. And the people eventually were able to forgive each other. The poverty rate in Rwanda dropped from 70% to 38%. 70% to 38%. Because there is a leader that thinks in a transformative way. So you see that all this leadership is there. So what do? We need to start learning how we can develop our own leadership skill. Let's go to the next session. Next slide. For you to be able to, and that's why I like the first presenter about personal development. I listened quite well, and one of the things I gained from what she said is that you have to be accountable for our own personal development. There has to be responsibility. So if you want to develop a leadership skill or leadership skills, the first thing is that you have to do a self-assessment. Who am I? Which kind of a person am I? which kind of temperament do I have? I used to tell people that you don't know yourself until you have money and you have power. When you have one of it, your true self begins to show. If you have the two of them, power and money, your real true self will begin to show. Now, God forbid that you get to have those two before you conduct a self-assessment, because you will misbehave. Because when you have power and you have money, you can do and undo. You can misbehave to people. That's when you think you are humble. But when you have money, you will find out that you are no more humble. When you now have power with money, then we are in trouble. A lot of people that you see, a lot of our leaders that you see misbehaving when they become leaders, that is their true self coming out. The reason why you have not misbehaved is because you have not had power, you have not had money. So if you want to be an effective leader, you have to assess yourself. And in the bid to assessing yourself, you ask your mentors, you ask your peers some questions. What do you think about me? What do you think for example, if you are leading a team, let's even bring it. Leadership is at all levels. If you are married, you are a leader. If you are in a school where you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people, once you are asked to head something, you are a leader. Once you contest to head something, you are a leader. So all of these different leadership style is used at different levels wherever we find ourselves. So you should be able to have peers that you can ask questions. You should be able to have peers and mentors. We'll come to mentors later on. So you'll be able to assess yourself. And in that assessment, you can now begin to develop, okay, this, my temperament, with this type of leadership. There are 6 leadership styles that I've mentioned. Am I going to be a laissez-faire leader in this organization or in this situation or at this level where I found myself? Am I going to be a transformational leader or a situational leader? You should be able to conduct that assessment yourself. Then your emotional intelligence. When we are talking about emotional intelligence, we are talking about you being able to have stability in your emotions. Now, if you look at statistics very well, I deal a lot in statistics. If you look at statistics very well, we don't do a lot of research in Africa or Nigeria, so we don't have a lot of statistics to show. But in the UK, out of 4 people, 1 of them is depressed. It's similar in the US. The ability to control your emotion is going to help you to develop a good leadership skill. If you cannot control your emotions, if you cannot stabilize yourself when you are dealing with other people, you will not be a successful leader. If you are still in the house, can you raise your hand or do a reaction? Okay, Dada, thank you. Olajun, okay, thank you. Okay. So your emotion has to be balanced. I like using myself as an example. I'm also a pastor. I preach all the time. I like to use myself as an example of both good and bad, because I'm not perfect. Okay. I was leading a team during the Ebola outbreak in Nigeria. I was leading a team, the national team for epidemiology and surveillance and co. So, I mean, leading a team of almost 200 people every day, you have to give people assignments, you have to do this, you have to do that. So in the middle of that, one of my colleagues, we're actually colleagues, but she was working under me at that time, said something and I shouted at her. The moment after shouting at her, I realized. And I was like, oh my God, what did you just do? So immediately I shouted at her in the presence of everybody. So I apologized in the presence of everybody right there and then. And I began for almost 2 years, I kept apologizing. The reason why was because I felt disappointed in myself. That how can you be so under pressure that you will shout at somebody because she said something? That was a poor emotional intelligence. No matter how you are under pressure, I can never forget that incident, and it has molded my ability to increase my emotional intelligence. Even 2 years after, I still say, oh, I'm sorry for that day. You say, oh, Dr. Peter, don't worry, it's okay, it's okay. For me, it wasn't okay. Because I felt that I shouldn't at all even shout at her. No matter how much pressure. The survival of Nigeria rested on my team. The survival of the country getting exposed to Ebola that was killing everywhere in Liberia, Sierra Leone, and all of that. If we made any mistake, it is my fault as the leader of that team. So so it was a lot of pressure, but it's still not an excuse to misbehave. It was still not an excuse to shout at somebody. It was really painful for me to have begged her for 2 years, 3 years. So what I'm trying to say is that you need to study your emotional capacity to be able to withstand pressure. Because when you're a leader, you will have more pressure. I know many of us want to be entrepreneurs, want to lead. Let me tell you a pressure I had recently. Some funding in where I work, and then is lower, so we have to sack staff. How do I sack staff? I had sleepless nights because I can't just sack staff. So every time I come to the office and I see all of them smiling, and in my head, you might have to sack this person, then you're in trouble. Are you getting me? So one has to be emotionally stable to be able to lead. Let's go to the next slide. Hello? Previous slide. Okay, so for you to be able to develop a good leadership skill, no matter the type of leadership, you have to have good communication skills. And communication starts by being an active listener. You have to be able to listen to people. Pay attention, full attention. You know, these days, because of social media, we are on our phone and somebody is talking to us. And you're still on your phone. I'm so conscious of it in the office. So when I'm on my phone and the secretary comes and is talking, or a colleague comes and is talking, I endeavor to drop my phone and look at them in the face. That's how to be an active listener. We are so used to, now I'm talking, nobody's seeing me. It's a poor way of communication. We should be able to see each other face to face and talk. So as a leader, you have to be actively listening to people. And when you are speaking, it has to be clear, it has to be concise, and then you tailor your message sometimes up to the level that the people can understand. And that's why sometimes you need non-verbal communication sometimes. Your eye contact, especially with your team that you closely work with every day, or you closely move with every day. You should be able to have appropriate eye contact. Unfortunately, we are all in groups. Many of us were all over the world. We communicate by social media, by Zoom. I want to encourage us, even in this team, when we're having meetings, create time where you can see the people. It might be at the end of the meeting, everybody switch on your video, let's see you. I know the internet in Africa does not allow us to do video online meetings effectively, but it's always good that at least you see the people you are communicating with. Let's go to the next slide, please. As a leader, you have to have the ability to think, critically analyzing solutions objectively, look at the logic of your decisions, and be able to take decisions based on critical thinking. Also, as a leader, you have to be in front with innovation. Leaders, look at it, remember the definition of a leader. A leader is insightful, a leader influences, a leader creates ideas. Let me tell us quickly. I would like to close in the next 5 minutes. Let me tell us quickly the story of Bill Gates. When Bill Gates was in grade 10, the school bought a computer for the whole school, one computer for the whole school, IBM computer. And they said, oh, it's open after school. You can go there and play. So there are 3 of them, Bill Gates, Kent, and one Allen. The 3 of them were the ones that used to go and work on that computer. But the story I want to bring out of there is that at that point in time, Bill Gates used to tell the rest that one day we will form a 500 fortune company. A 500 fortune company is the highest 500 companies in the world. These were children in maybe JS1, JS2, or even primary school, grade 10. And he used to say it at that time. He was highly thinking of how they will bring computer into everybody's hand. And they had only one computer in the whole school. In fact, their school is one of the only one in the whole of their city that had computer. So a leader has to go ahead of the rest of the team and create ideas for the team to begin to move towards. A leader leads from the front. Let's go to the next slide. A leader is able to build teams that function well. Honestly, 5 out of the 6 styles of leadership you have to be able to function in them. I don't subscribe to the laissez-faire, situational, transformational, democratic, and autocratic, and servanthood or servant leaders. You have to be able to operate in each of those 5 at different points in time in your life. A leader has to be able to build a team and work with that team. A leader has to be able to say, hey, team, this is what we are doing today. That's autocratic. A leader sometimes have to sit down with a team and say, okay, what do we do? A leader has to have a vision and go ahead of the people. So you have to be able to build your team and leverage on the strength of every team. I used to have a boss who allowed me free-handed to operate. He leveraged on my strength excellently for 6 years. He was never that will take over. And it was not in me to take over. Even when I would go for meetings, I remember we went for a meeting and they asked me a question. And I said, no, I cannot answer that question because I have a boss. And she was there. I said, please, that question was supposed to be answered by my boss, not me. Because they wanted to pitch us against each other. They wanted to pitch me against her that, oh, maybe I'm better than her. No. But as a leader, you don't have to be afraid of allowing the strength of your team members to come up. You have to be able to address conflicts and motivate others to move ahead. Let's go on. Next slide. It is expected of every leader to be honest, to be transparent, accountable, and have social responsibility. Next slide. You have to be able to adapt and have continuous learning. I told you, my dad said, oh, you have to have PhD. I now have my PhD. You have to just keep learning. You have to keep learning. I'm learning AI right now. You have to just keep learning. Go on. So what are the practical steps? I'll just run through it. We'll share these slides that you can go through them. Practical steps to develop leadership skill. First, most important practical step is seek mentorship. Seek mentorship in every area of your life that is important to you. Let me say that again. Seek mentorship in every area of your life that is important to you. I have a lead pastor, and that is my spiritual mentor. I have a mentor for my epidemiology and public health. I have a mentor for investments. I have a mentor for business. So you must have a mentor in every important area of your life, as it is even till now. Every important area of life, I have mentors. So you must seek to have mentors that you respect, that can advise you. And then when you have the opportunity, always volunteer to be a leader. In fact, create leadership role for yourself. Are you getting me? Create leadership role for yourself. Look at your community. Look at your community and look for something, look for a problem that you can solve. Call the community together. We need to do this. We need to do this. And by the time everybody say, oh, don't worry, I will lead it. So create leadership roles for yourself that does not even require money. That's volunteering. Build yourself in the areas of workshops and training like we are meeting right now. This is like a short seminar on leadership. Go to as many, a lot of them free. Everything you need, almost everything you need to succeed in life now is on YouTube. Next slide, please. Join organizations like this one that we are in now that encourages you to build your leadership skill, encourages you to be a better person, encourages you to take part in some teamwork. Like we've been told by the earlier speaker, set personal goals and go after those personal goals. Journal. For my spiritual life, I have a journal of all the things God does for me. I write them down. Sometimes, like once a year, I write down the things that I've achieved in the year. And so when you go back, you see that you've achieved a lot. A lot of times we have amnesia, we forget of some of the successes and experiences that we've had. So we don't talk about them. Next slide. So in conclusion, we have looked at 4 case studies. I just want to say in these 2 sentences or 2 phrases that first of all, embrace the power to shape the future by developing leadership skills today. So you can lead, inspire with action, and empower others to transform our world for the better. You have to start today. Discuss with yourself, which kind of leader am I now in different areas of your life? You have to empower yourself to lead with purpose, vision, and integrity. Because your leadership today can shape a brighter future for Africa tomorrow. I want you to think about that and see how you can begin to empower yourself. I mentor my children. I have 3 boys, and I mentor them in different levels where they are. Let me give you an example. My last born he's just finished from secondary school. He wanted to contest as sports leader, sports director in his school. When you look at him, you sports director. But I had to encourage us. Okay, so what do you need? He said, Daddy, I have to campaign. I said, okay, how can I help you to campaign? So I helped him to draw posters with hand. So he took it to school. Then he saw that one of the people he's competing with came back with a printed poster. So Daddy, my opponents had printed posters. I said, okay. Let us also print posters. So we went to print posters. I said, okay, how will you talk to your friend? Let me say, Daddy, it's enough. I said, okay. So I can handle the rest. So I kept quiet. And the boy won the contest. In fact, 2 of the other 3, they had like 3, 4, or 5 contestants. 3 dropped their own out of the election for him. And he eventually won. So you have to have mentors, and your mentors can be your parents. I mentor my own children myself in different areas of their lives. I mentor them in investment. I mentor them in different things. Okay, I think you should invest. Just like my own father mentored me and insisted that go and do PhD. He didn't give me money. All he did was to advise. Thank you very much. I hope I've been able to pass across some message to us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. This was a very, very amazing session. I am very sure that everybody gained very, very well from this. I'm not the only one that gained so well from this session. So at this point, I feel I have this a deep mindset about leadership, right? I have a whole different mindset about leadership. Thank you very much, Dr. Adebayo. We really appreciate your presence here today with us. Okay, so we're done with that. And now we'll move to the next thing for today, which is a discussion on everything we've learned so far, as well as question and answer session. We have questions. We have our leaders here. We have our mentors here to put us through. Whatever question you have, what questions do you have? They are here to put us through. So if you have any questions, you can drop it on the comments, on the chat box, or you can unmute and speak. We have time for questions today.
Hello, good evening, sir. Thanks so much for the lecture. I'm very sure it has added great value to my time. I have 2 questions. One of which is, which leadership do you think is best of all to pursue? And the second one is, do you think that one can exercise all the types of leadership? Thank you very much, sir.
Sorry, that
Okay.
you are standing very far off. Can somebody help me to repeat?
All right. She said, the first question is, which leadership do you think is best to pursue? And then the second question is, I think, Miss Grace, can you please repeat your second question?
Okay, I said, which leadership do you think is the best of all to pursue? Then the second one is, do you think that one can exercise all the types of leadership? Thank you, sir. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Sal, did you hear her?
Yes, please.
Thank you very
Maybe
much.
we should take all the questions, then he can answer it at once. Olajumoke and is raised also.
All right. Olajumoke, please, let's hear your question. You can unmute and speak.
Okay, thank you very much for this section, sir. So my question is, you made mention of when you have money and power, then you can know your true self. And you now mentioned on something like mentioning assessing yourself. So my question is, how then do we assess ourselves since you've not gotten to that stage where there's money and there's power? So how can you truly assess yourself? Oh, my phone is shutting.
All right. Any other person?
We also have a question in the chat room.
Okay.
So I think we have 3 questions now. Over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you all for listening to this talk. The first question from, I think, Grace is, which is the best style? There's really no best style. I'd rather say, like I said before, the laissez-faire, I don't subscribe to it because it can cause a lot of commotion. Autocratic might be needed at the time. Democratic might be needed at the time. Transformational might be needed at the time. What I advise is that you can pick a major one out of the 5 that I'm recommending out of the 6 and build a little bit of the others. If you look at Mandela, it was both transformational and servant leadership. Kagame of Rwanda is autocratic and transformational. Now, all leaders, nobody is perfect, but you can't say, oh, this is the best. But it's always good to at least have that baseline of servanthood. There are some situations that servanthood will not work. You might have to use autocratic. So, but as a person, I am more of transformational and servanthood. So you can have a basic combination, and then at every different points, situations in life, you can choose, you can quickly add a type of leadership that might work for that situation, which is almost like situational leadership. Now, the second question is that, can you exercise all the different types? I think I've answered it with the first one. The issue of when you have money and when you have power, that's why you really truly know yourself. So how can you assess yourself? That's what I was trying to say, that you need to assess yourself before you get to a point where you have some certain level of money and certain level of power. At every stage in life, you can have them to some extent. Where you are right now, you have them to an extent. So you assess yourself right now. You know, a lot of time we ask, so we pray, oh God, please let me be patient. Help me to be patient. How do you know you can be patient? It's when there is something that will make you impatient comes. There's no way you can get a certificate without doing exam. So sometimes to assess yourself, you will create that need. That's why if you put yourself in a leadership role, then you begin to see the kind of leader you are in small things, or you can be. Sometimes you need to look at your temperament. There are about 4 types of different temperaments, sanguine and all of that. Which kind of temperament am I? What will I be when I become a leader? You can know at different levels. So the smaller level you start with, why you are in it. So what I'm advising is that for you to assess yourself, create a leadership role for yourself and see how you will perform in that leadership role for you to be able to know the kind of leader or leadership skills you have now. Am I a good communicator? Do I have integrity? Some of us think, oh, some of these our leaders are bad. They are changing zeros. But you get to a situation where they will ask you to change zeros. Are you able to say, no, I'm not changing these zeros? Let us share this money. I say, no, I'm not sharing this money. When you share the money, it shows that you don't have integrity. You have not built ethics. So at lower level, the way to assess yourself is create an opportunity for you to be a leader. And then you see how you behave. And then you can now build yourself in that. The second way to assess yourself is to go and look for the characteristics of this leadership role. How much of it do I have in myself? Am I a good communicator right now? Do I have integrity right now? Go and look at the skills. We will share the slides. Look at each of the things that you are supposed to have as a leader and tick 80%, 20%, 40%. When somebody is trying to talk to you, are you always in a hurry? You are not ready to listen. I used to be like that. I had to consciously build myself to listen. So there's another question on how can one combine learning data analysts while being a medical student? You can look for like 30 minutes every day to build yourself in data analysis. You start with the simplest, which is Excel. Then you can move from Excel to Python, R, and all of that. I am not good in Python, but I build myself in R language because it's good for us in public health. And it's also free. I know a little about Python. So you can build yourself by just creating about 30 minutes every day, or even it's 10 minutes every day to begin to practice how to be an analyst. It's all online. You go to YouTube, data analyst for dummies, you'll find it. Data analysis for beginners, you'll find it. Then you begin to walk your way through. I don't know if there's any other question that I've not answered. And I hope I've been able to answer the questions that were asked. Thank you.